a playlist original.
Hey, what's up? It's your host, Tori, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to another episode of RTBP. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad I'm back. I never left on Patreon, Opvi Dog, Kit Kat Bar, but I had all the best intentions to record podcasts before I left so I could release them weekly and not miss a beat. But just due to, I forgot one of my files on my external hard drive, I had to reschedule. Just because of those things, I wasn't able to do that. And I was kind of talking shit about myself. But it's like, you know what? All the petty betties will be there when you return. So I'm so excited to be back. It's a really fun episode with Laura from TikTok today, and I hope that you enjoy. A lot has been going on Patreon. I did a full episode on my trip with my little sister, Rowan. So if you are interested in hearing about my trip, I'm not going to go into details here, but you can catch that over on the Patreon. If you are new here, I just got back from a trip from Portugal, Spain, Morocco, and Iceland. It was super fun, some funny moments, and I share all about that on the Patreon. And then, can I say Patreon one more time? And then I did an episode with Emily Rose from It's Become a Whole Thing on Kardashian staff. I did an episode on secret celebrity marriages. That one was solo dolo. And this week I released one on trending pop culture topics, ones that I haven't been able to cover on the public feed here, like Sophie Turner and Joe Jonas's divorce, the release of Guts, and a bunch of other fun things. So before we get into it, I just want to say it's been a year of Patreon episodes, which is so wild. So if you join today, you get access to 53 episodes because it's been 1 year, 1 week. And then it is RTBP's 5th birthday coming up at the end of this month on October 31st. And every year I have done a clip show to celebrate another year passing. So I've had listeners submit clips to me that they liked. So if there's a funny bit or moment or conversation that I had in the past year from Halloween 2022 to Halloween 2023, send me the episode number and what we were talking about, and I will put that in the show with your handle. And if you are, a little love, you can also send me the minute marker and let me know what time it was at so I can pull it easily. That's like if you're an A+ student, if you are, a pleasure to have in class, you're sending me the minute marker. Anyways, without further ado, I don't want to beat around the bush. I want to get back into the juicy topics. So here's my conversation with Laura from Not So Critically Acclaimed. I'm back with a very special guest. Laura from Not So Critically Acclaimed is here. Laura, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to chat.
Oh my God, me too. I haven't recorded a podcast in over a month because I've been on vacation and I've been dying to talk to someone about stuff. I'm just chomping at the bit. So I'm so glad it's you. I found you through your TikTok. I've been following for, I don't know, maybe 6 months, 9 months, something like that. I love how you report the news. So can you tell the listeners a little bit about what you cover and, why you wanted to start a TikTok?
Yeah, for sure. So I am a pop culture junkie, but specifically I talk about all things TV shows and movies. And so I actually started my platform a little over 3 years ago, which feels kind of crazy that much time has passed. But yeah, I know, it's crazy. So I actually started as a podcast first when I was a senior in college, and it was my last semester and I had a lot of free time on my hands. And I feel like it was over my winter break where someone was speaking to me and telling me like, oh, you just have to find your passion, or like some kind of conversation like that. That then a few weeks later, I was really thinking about that and thinking I had a lot of free time. Maybe I could do like a YouTube channel or a podcast or something. And they were always like, you have to find what you're passionate about and just like dedicate yourself to that. And I know that I always loved watching TV shows and movies growing up. Like, that was my thing in high school. Like, honestly, middle school, like everything, I was the go-to person to speak to when you wanted to just talk about last night's episode of Pretty Little Liars or whatever. And so then I started my podcast senior year of school. Really, no one was listening, I'm sure. And like it was just for me. And I find it so funny because I was like so legit about it. I was in school, like I said at the time, but it was right before COVID started. So I was actually going in person to like a little recording studio that our library had and like putting the headphones on with the real mic, the real editing software. And I was actually like doing this so legit and no one was listening, I'm sure. Meanwhile, eventually when I started to get more listeners, it was like in my bedroom on my phone recording. But
yeah.
So that time of year was obviously crazy. And that's when TikTok blew up. And I started to see people posting videos about like shows or movies or random things. And I was like, oh, maybe I can take my podcast content and kind of put it on TikTok, not in the sense of like taking clips of it, but rather just, regurgitating the same kind of conversational information I was saying on my podcast, doing rankings and all sorts of that. And then 3 years later, here we are. And the content has just evolved over time. So I do reviews, recommendations. A lot of times I'll give updates about like the filming status of movies and shows or like casting status. And I feel like that was a niche I really fell into for a while. And it's, just kind of rolling with whatever's trending at the time. So
yeah, I feel like that's how I found you, because I'm always so curious. Like, I don't remember if this was you specifically, but like I watched this show called Tell Me Lies, I think, like 2 years ago, and because of like everything that's happened in the world of like movies and TV, they hadn't picked up filming, and I was like, I need season 2 like so badly, and like all this stuff. And like I love like knowing, especially like, I don't know, just what is like what's happening on sets and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny because I've been thinking about it more recently with like trying to find out whatever new shows are coming out, and it almost feels like I have no idea what my life used to be like before TikTok from like a TV news like world. Like I just would see, I guess it would be like the front page on Netflix or something, and then watch a trailer and watch it. But I didn't pay attention to this sort of thing like beforehand. And in a way, it almost feels like a little bit like you've stolen the magic.
Absolutely.
Because like, for example, when I would go to the movie theaters, like a lot of the times I've seen the trailers for whatever movies they're playing, and I'm like, I want to just be surprised again. So it's a give and take, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a little magic, like when you start doing this, like not as a job per se, but like as some type of like content creation, I feel like, I don't know, surprise and intrigue and magic is taken away. But I don't know, I think it's an exciting time in TV and movies right now. You're saying that you were the go-to person, but like what drew you to these types of like topics in particular? Like, is it the cast relationships? Is it actually like how they make, like, are you into like TV, like cinematography and stuff? Like, I'm just interested why, or like what parts of TV and movies really move you?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of twofold. For one part, which was probably the bigger part and what started it, was more like the community base of a TV show and how there's the whole fandom culture. And like I said, I was always the go-to person to talk about a show or movie with amongst my friends. But then there were shows that they didn't necessarily watch that I wanted to speak about and share opinions about and like hear what other people thought. And that's kind of how I started my platform, just as a way for me to voice my own thoughts. And if anyone cared to listen, they could. And so I just kind of frame myself as I'm another one of the girlies. I'm just a fangirl you, and just want to talk all the theories and whatnot. And then I would say a second component of it not like cinematography, but I am interested in the writing of shows. Like that's my dream at the end of the day. Like I would love for not so critically acclaimed to turn into like its own production company. Like Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine, that is my goal in life. And she is my role model and just I love her so much. And that would be my dream to write my own TV shows, produce shows, just, get to foster that creativity. And I feel like my coy line that I always say is I've done all the research because I've watched literally everything like in
I
the space.
love.
So yeah, that's a long dream.
I love that. No, that's so great. And that's cool to listen to like what draws you to TV and movies, because it's kind of similar to what I've been thinking about. Like this week, I saw a TikTok that was like, "Oh, this TV show called The Discovery of Witches is like Twilight for adults." So I started to watch it, and like it came out, I think the first season was like 2018, and then it wrapped in like 2021 or something like that. And so I'm like, who can I talk to about this? Because like you either watched it back then and like don't care to rehash it, or like I need to find people to discuss it, because I love, you're right, just discussing those aspects. Like the female lead character wears an element of blue like in every outfit. And I want to like ask someone like, why do you think that is? Or I just want to discuss that stuff, but it's tough sometimes to find that. So it's been really nice to find your TikTok, and people have lively discussions over there and stuff like that.
Well, thanks for watching my videos. It's always
Yeah.
to connect with people through the internet that have found them and, form more connections.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into today's topics. We're going to talk about football news. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. We're going to talk about Usher headlining the halftime show, Dancing with the Stars, and the Roman Empire trend. And then Laura is going to nominate her Pettyweight Champion of the Week and share her This Week in Petty story. So let's get into our first little bit here. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, like, this broke when I was on vacation, and I was like, I want to go home and come back to my closet studio and like jump on the mic, because this is just so wild to me. What do you think of this couple?
I have to say, first of all, I am a huge Swiftie. Like
Okay, love, same.
she is my I live and breathe Taylor Swift. So I am here for it, honestly, because I just think it's so entertaining. And honestly, like everyone being like, oh, it's a PR stunt and whatever. I'm like, if it is, I don't care. Like I am fully like reading into it and going along with it. I watched last night's Chiefs versus Jets game. I never watch football like other than Super Bowl, and whenever I watch the Super Bowl, I'm always like, all right, call me for the commercials, not which is obviously the opposite way to watch a football game. But I actually sat here and I watched it, and I'm just loving all of the attention it's getting. I don't know. I have just so many thoughts about it. Like, I didn't really know who Travis Kelce was prior to last year's Super Bowl, because of the whole like, oh, brothers in the Super Bowl. But otherwise, like, I had never really heard of him. And she's never dated a pro athlete before. Like, she's always only ever dated either actors or musicians. And what I especially love about this dynamic is that even though I didn't know about Travis Kelce much before this, and he's not quote unquote being put on the map by Taylor Swift, as people will say that he definitely has a huge following and a huge presence like in the NFL. And like, I would say probably one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star that she dated, with the exception, I would say, of Harry Styles, probably in the One Direction fame of it all. But I think he is huge, and he isn't treating it like, oh, I'm not, like, she's just another girl. Like, he knows he's dating like the biggest star in the world. And so I think having that mindset really changes the dynamic and makes it like more plausible to work, because he isn't like he's putting her on a pedestal because he knows who she is, and he's not gonna like play, like, he's not dumb.
Yeah. No, you're making like great points. at first when he kept bringing her up in interviews, being like, I went to the concert and like I couldn't meet her and stuff like that, I was kind of like, low key, shut up. Like, it does seem clout chasey about you keep mentioning her when seemingly you have no relationship with her at like whatsoever, but
Right.
because again she's, I feel like, at the top of her game, at the top of the music game, etc., I feel like people were talking about her, you know, for clicks and stuff like that. He has a podcast. He had a reality TV show. He definitely wants to be not just a football player. And I was talking to Cam from What I Will Say about this over on my Patreon. So if you want to hear more about this theory, go to patreon.com/RTBP podcast. But the gist of it is that we were saying that, you know, football players, if they get injured, they're like out or they retire. Like, he has like probably a few years left in him. I'm talking like I've also never watched a football game, but like like allegedly he'll probably be playing for just like a few more years, and then what's in it after that? I think a lot of people, like quietly retire, but I feel like if you want a career, you know, that maintains the lifestyle that he's used to living, you seek an entertainment career or you go into sports casting. And I think a lot of the things that he's doing with podcasting, etc., like positions him really well for that. So in terms of those things, I'm like, yeah, it's a little PR-ish. But then I saw those pictures of them, I should say picture of them from the restaurant after the first game that they were spotted at. And I was like, oh no, this looks like super cute and super fun. And I'm kind of living for it.
Yeah, I saw that picture, and I actually saw a video of someone analyzing the picture because, of course, everyone was freaking out about it, like, oh my God, her arms aren't in. But then she's like, this person was zooming in on the picture, like, look at the feet placements. Like, you can't see his other foot. She's sitting on his lap.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh my God, that just takes it up like another 7 notches.
Yeah.
And it's also like cute because like she's a tall person. She is 5'11". And so the fact that this is the first guy that's taller than her, not that that's like the end all be all, but I do love that for her. And also, like, I saw another video where they were in like the getaway car and he's in like an open air convertible. And like, when is Taylor Swift from a safety perspective in a car like that? And someone was like, it's because Travis Kelce's the first guy that she's with that can fight because he's like huge as opposed to, you know,
like
any of these other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm
like
dead.
No hate to them, but just like, you know, facts here. Also, I've seen so many videos analyzing like lyrics and stuff, and how from the song Endgame, like she's saying like it's from Reputation, she's supposedly singing about Joe and everything, but it's like we both have big reputations, and it's like, does Joe really have a big reputation? No, Travis Kelce does. That's a great one. And then I think like it's really funny in full circle from 15, like you'll do so many things in your life greater than dating the guy on the football team. And it's like, yeah, she has done so much more in her life, and now she can date the guy on the football team.
100%.
Get it.
Some of those invisible string moments are like, even just in Mary's song, from her debut album, how it was like, I'll be 87 and you'll be 89 or whatever. God. Like, just like those things, I'm like, oh my God, like it's just so weird. Like, I know that they're coincidences, but just how perfect. Like, if I were her, especially she loves like symbolism and dates and numbers and stuff like that, I'd be like, this is my soulmate.
I mean, they were both born in 1989. 87 plus 13 equals a perfect 100. So it worked. But that's also funny. Going back to your comment about how like, why would they be on each other's radars? Like, I've also been seeing some more about like connections between the two of them. Like, Paul Rudd is a huge Chiefs fan, and he's like in Only Murders in the Building with Selena Gomez, who's obviously best friends with Taylor Swift.
Right.
I think the idea was like people were saying they met at like a mutual friend's party or something. Because it is kind of like, I always wonder that in the world of celebrities, like how sometimes that is something, this is just a tangent, but like a video series I did on my TikTok is like, newsflash, they're dating or they're together or whatnot. And sometimes it's like random celebrities, like a favorite person from one show and a person from another show, and they're like, how are they even on the same like circle? So I always love
Mm-hmm.
that from the inside perspective to be like, yeah, how did Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift first meet? Like, you can't just slide into Taylor Swift's DMs and get noticed.
Absolutely. No, that's such a good point. So yeah, maybe through like a Selena Gomez, Paul Rudd connection. Like, I don't know. I've heard crazier things. Like I do think that a lot of times that is how celebrities meet, friends or
Mhm.
significant others, is like through friends of friends. So yeah, and I think he also has a good, speaking of reputation, like a good reputation. I think he's like well respected. He's also at the top of his game. So I feel like they would have a lot to talk about of just like performance and excellence and, perfecting a craft and all of
Mhm.
this stuff. So yeah, I still am, I'm leaning towards real, but I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket because if you know celebrities, like, I feel like you have to be a little bit suspicious, but all I'm saying is like I feel like I'm having a lot of fun. I feel like she's having a lot of fun, and yeah, I think they're cute. I think they're really really cute together.
Yeah, I think a similar thing happened with like, is it PR, is it not, with the whole Maddie Healy situation? Definitely from a much less degree, because obviously Maddie Healy is not Travis Kelce, and there isn't this whole other world of like content and media like there is with the NFL and from like ESPN and just all these other social media outlets that are covering it. But like we were all like, I don't want to believe it. I don't know. And then it seemed to be, it was true. So like, I don't know if it's in the public eye. And like the whole thing is like, it goes back and forth. Like Taylor Swift isn't seen unless she really wants to be seen. So on the one hand, you could say, well, that's obviously PR then, but I don't know. I'm okay with
Totally.
whatever she wants. I'm okay with. I want what she wants. So
Absolutely. I think like the other thing that always like triggers me to like, oh, this is real, is when they're hanging out with family and friends, which she
right.
has been doing. But then I thought about Tom Hiddleston and I'm like, she was hanging out with his mom like all the fucking time. So like that doesn't really hold up as like a conspiracy, but like sometimes I'm just like, if this was truly a fake relationship that was like contractual, like wouldn't you just want to like, show up to a red carpet like in separate cars, like walk the red carpet together and like leave? Like I feel like, hanging out with his mom like brings it to like a whole nother level.
Plus, like, you have to go back to who these people are. Like, again, I can't really speak to Travis Kelce at all, but Taylor Swift, you do PR stunts like this to get PR. Taylor Swift is the last person on earth that needs any more PR. Like, she is the most famous person on the world, you could argue. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't need it. And I think back to again who she is as a person, and she's seems, I mean, I've never met her, but she seems like the most genuine person, and she only wants genuine relationships in her life, especially when, she is this famous and she has to be concerned from a safety perspective, from both like her actual safety and the safety of her work and all of her, everything she's worked for. I would think she's only going to surround herself by people who she actually cares about and are like genuine people in her life, as opposed to doing like some kind of contractual thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense too, because I think with the selling of her masters, I feel like she's especially really careful about who she hangs out with.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you're right that like she would have to have a really trusting relationship with someone to be close with them, because so much is on the line. And yeah, I feel like she's also going to be embarking on the second leg of her tour. She's
Mm-hmm.
going to be gone. She's going to be busy. So I don't know if this is a fling or if it's like a long term, suitor or whatever. But yeah, it's just been fun. I will say some of the NFL content and stuff like that is like, if I have to hear about Seemingly Ranch one
Yeah.
more fucking time, like I will delete all my socials, but like yeah, and like some of the NFL stuff, like they changed their like banner today to like pictures of her, and then like their bio says like that, you know, Taylor was there again at a game, and it's like, hey, like we get it. Like one time is funny, a second time I'm just like, hey, like you should probably just talk about football at this point. Like
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to lean into it as long as they can. I think also this past game was a big deal because it was in New York where she's like, it's her home base kind of, and people
yep.
know that. And with 1989, Taylor's version coming out in a few weeks, which is obviously Welcome to New York and everything and all, I guess it makes sense. So I guess we're just going to see over the next couple of weeks what, I'll be tuning in for the Chiefs games. And I do think it's really wholesome, like how this is bringing like a lot of dads and daughters together or just women in general to football. Like I know personally I've been speaking to my dad a lot more about like this. I've never watched football, like I said, never talked about this, but it's like we have common ground. And my brother, like my dad and my brother are big Jets fans, and I was texting them, I'm like, guys, I'm rooting against the Jets. And then they did like merge call, and my brother was like, Dad, are you hearing this? Like, he's a traitor. And like my dad's like, I kind of figured. I was like, I just do what she tells me to do. Okay? But I
That's
do
so
think it's
funny.
cute. So
Yeah, that's a good point that I didn't even like really think about, but that's true. Like I remembered the episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians that had Caitlyn Jenner, because my dad's a big like sports guy, big like Olympics guy. So, like, obviously, Caitlyn Jenner, an amazing athlete and stuff like that. And so, when she was on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, like, my dad would watch those episodes with us. And, like, it is a nice thing to have something, you know, some common ground. So, I do get that. So, yeah, that's a cute little upside of this.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's chat about Usher. Speaking of football. Usher will be playing the Super Bowl halftime show. Are you stoked to see Usher perform?
So I was disappointed at first from the rumors perspective. I saw rumors, like I've been talking about this a lot with my coworkers. It was always a hot topic. And we thought it was either going to be like Miley Cyrus was like a hot option, I guess. And the one that
Yes.
was paired with her was like Harry Styles, but we were like, I don't think it's going to be Harry Styles because he doesn't have as big of a discography yet. The only thing would be like is if he brings One Direction out. And then someone threw out like Pink, and I was like, oh my god, Pink would be amazing. So I was more looking like thinking it would be something like that. I don't know. I'm more of like, obviously I'm a Taylor Swift fan, so I'm like a pop fan. So here's my thoughts about Usher. Like I was kind of like, I've not to be like, I mean, honest, like I kind of forgot about Usher. Like I
That
haven't
I
heard an Usher song in a really long time.
I think that's
Um,
all, because I think that's also normal because you're Gen Z, right? Like I feel like he's very staunchly like a millennial like pop,
yeah, like
or not even pop singer, R&B
right.
singer, but yeah.
The extent of Usher in like my repertoire of music was like middle school, OMG, like DJ Got Us Falling in Love Again kind of thing.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
could probably count on one hand like the songs I know, but I do think, which again, the fact that like who's talking about Usher is why it's happening, because the halftime performers don't get paid to do so. Like it's a promo thing, and so I guess he wants to be in the public eye again. And I do know, I forgot about this, but his Vegas residency like was always sold out, and I think he's a great performer. Like I do have now expectations that like it's going to be a really good performance because he is such a great performer. And I feel like there are so many musicians in the pop slash R&B space who have modeled their careers after Usher and just been like copying him basically. And I think he was like the original. So I have high expectations for him to perform well, because I feel like there are not that many halftime shows that I've been impressed with in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I have very similar thoughts. I'm stoked. I hope he does, cuz yeah, I feel like there was like a 2010s Usher and then like an early 2000s Usher. I really hope he goes through,
Mhm.
different decades, because I prefer his earlier stuff. I think he's an excellent performer. I think he'll put on a good show. I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't think Harry Styles would be a good Super Bowl performer. Like, I really think you need the dance element
Mhm.
and, like, I don't know, just more type of music where you could have more stuff going on stage like Rihanna did. Whereas, like, what would Harry Styles have? Because it's usually just like him and his band.
That is true. Like, and I've never been to a Harry Styles concert, but from what I've seen on social media, even though it can be in a stadium or arena with like thousands and thousands of people, it always seems very intimate because he's doing
Yeah.
like gender reveals every two concerts and like
Yeah.
having conversations with people in the pit. And I'm just like, how does he hear them? Um,
Yeah, yeah. And,
but
like, how would he do that? Like, that's exactly what I mean is, like, I think he is an excellent performer. He's very captivating, very charismatic, etc., etc. Great music, blah blah blah. But, like, all of the stuff that he does or he did on the Love on Tour, like, stadium tour, he couldn't do at a halftime show. So, like, I think that's why people like Lady Gaga or Katy Perry, etc., Beyonce were so amazing, because they have the dancers and they have a variety of different styles of music, and they're more, I don't know, more of performers.
I get it. It's flashy. Like
Yeah,
you need backup dancers and like a visual and stuff bring coming to life and making it a whole it's a production. It's not
absolutely.
like a lot of times they're lip syncing, so it's more about the actual production and what you're like visually seeing than what you're hearing. So I understand. I would say Harry Styles halftime show when One Direction reunites. So
Yeah, you're right. If 1D is there, like, amazing, unreal, can't wait. But, like, if it's
Mhm.
him by himself, like, again, like, no offense, I just, like, don't see it. But I'm excited for Usher. I feel like he's so connected in the music world that he'll have really cool guests. Do you have any, like, guesses or people that you would hope he would bring out?
So again, I don't know too many of the songs. Like when I Googled Usher, I didn't really recognize many. I might recognize more if I played them. So I don't remember off the top of my hand people who he's collaborated with, but so the only person I can think of, but he wouldn't show up is Justin
Justin
Bieber.
Bieber. Yeah.
Like,
I would fucking buy, like, the $40,000 ticket or whatever it was, Justin Bieber.
but I
Like,
mean, if they do that, it'll probably be a surprise, but I don't think he will just because he like everything going on with his health and how he had to cancel so many shows. Like I
yeah.
doubt it. Plus he's bigger than Usher is, so it would kind of be like
Yeah, like, overshadowing.
upstaging.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
and this is like a thought, I guess, with Justin Bieber and everything, like people, especially in the music industry right now, it seems like everyone is on an Eras tour of their own form.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been seeing this audio of people like cutting all of Justin Bieber's music together, and they're like, imagine this as the intro to a Justin Bieber Eras tour. I'm like, I would cry. So I was like,
Yes.
before I was a diehard Swiftie, I was a believer. Like that
Same.
that was my middle school experience. It was a fever. And I think it would be like amazing, but I really don't think, especially because he has such a like, I mean, I don't know if they're close anymore, but I know when Justin Bieber was first coming up, like Usher was his mentor.
Mentor, yeah.
So, and they did a remix or the original, I don't know, Somebody to Love together, I think.
Yep, Somebody to Love. I think it was the remix, and they had First Dance from, I
Oh
think, from
my
his
God.
first album.
What
Yeah,
a
like,
throwback. Oh
what
my
a
God.
deep cut. But yeah,
My world.
I can't remember any other than those two. Oh, maybe one of his Christmas songs.
Mm, I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely don't know the Christmas album that well, other
Oh,
than
it's so
Mistletoe
good. Oh my
and
God,
like
no.
and Drummer Boy.
Yeah, Drummer Boy is so fucking good. No, I play that every year, like, November 1st. Okay, let's talk about Dancing with the Stars. Are you a big DWTS fan?
I am. How about you?
Okay, so no, but
Okay.
I feel like okay, like I just can't be around for like 26 seasons. Like I just can't do that. Like I've given up on shows like
Mhm.
Grey's Anatomy and Dancing with the Stars and stuff like that. But
Right.
actually as a show, I actually do end up watching most of the dances and clips like on
Mhm.
YouTube or
Yeah.
TikTok or whatever or Twitter wherever. So I feel like I've kept up with the gist of Dancing with the Stars for a show that is kind of about washed up celebrities.
Hmm.
They've had some really good celebrities on the show.
Yeah.
Like fucking Kim Kardashian, Rob Kardashian, Cody Simpson, Zendaya, like I think that's like pretty like good casting. So there's a few people from this season that obviously stood out to me.
Hmm.
Jamie Lynn Spears being the first.
Yeah.
Ariana Madix. Are you a VPR girly?
So, no, I like my world of reality television is strictly Dancing with Stars and The Bachelor world.
Nice.
But so I had heard like people talking about her, like Ariana Madix and the headline of like her boyfriend cheated on her with her best friend. But I didn't really like follow the storyline. But she did really well. And I will say like your comment about it being a long show, like it makes sense. Like, and it's also like on every week, and a lot of times they would do 2 episodes a week.
Two
Like
episodes a
it's long.
goddamn week.
Last
Yeah.
year was bad because they moved it off of ABC and it was on Disney Plus, and it was literally like 2 hours, sometimes a little bit more, with no commercials. Versus like before, it was 2 hours on ABC with standard commercials. Like okay, but when it was on Disney Plus, there was a lot of filler. I've been watching since the first season I watched. I don't know what number it was, but it was the season that Zendaya was on it. I think I was like a sophomore in high school, and I guess I had heard about it, but then it was only like a couple of my friends were watching. It's like, you know what? I'm going to watch Dancing with the Stars this season. And then I just fell in love with it and have been watching ever since. They have also like died it down ever since one particular season that I'm still bitter about. Um, that's a whole other story. But and it definitely
Interesting.
changed the dynamic ever since that one season. They stopped doing 2 seasons a year. So they always had like a fall and a spring season. They alternated with Bachelor or whatever was on. And now they
Yeah,
only do
on Monday nights.
yeah, so now they only do one season a year. And they interestingly, it pertains to this season. So obviously, like America votes and the judges have their scores. But in the particular season I'm talking about, season 27, that was like my favorite season. There was an actor named Milo Manheim on it who he was like a Disney Channel star, and he was 17 at the time, and he was phenomenal. Like I became obsessed with him. I'm also like low key in love with him. Um, and he did so well, but then he lost to Bobby Bones, who was not a good dancer, but he was a radio talk show host who had a lot of connections and a lot of friends and everybody, and got so many people to vote for him. And he ended up winning, and he was obviously not the best dancer, and like by a lot. It wasn't like at least Milo won to someone else who could hold their own. So then once that season, everything happened, they changed the voting system, and that every week, instead of it being like the votes deciding who goes home for the bottom two, the judges had a judges save where they could decide between, I guess, the two couples who had the lowest voting. So still voting and whatever still mattered, but at least they had the opportunity to save someone. So this season they got rid of it again. So I'm really interesting to see how that's going to go, especially for Harry Jowsey, who I think,
Oh my god.
yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Oh my god. Okay, so Harry Jowsey's also on the cast. He has to be the worst I've ever seen, I feel like, on the entire show. And there has been bad dancers. I feel bad for him. Like I feel like in his head as he's performing, like I look at his eyes and his eyes say like get me out of here. Like I really feel bad for him. For some reason I really like him. I feel like he's problematic in like a lot of ways. I haven't done my research on him, but like I don't know, for some reason I like him. Like I don't know, I want him to do well, but he's probably a douche. I don't know. What do you think about him?
I get it. So he was on the very first season of Too Hot to Handle. I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, I think his whole personality, and then ever since then, like, I think he might have been on a few other, like, their random
Yeah,
reality
like
shows.
X on the beach and stuff.
Yeah. And then he is like sometimes a correspondent on like random segments and stuff. So he's definitely like making his way through the business, but like he doesn't have a talent. So I don't
No.
really, like taking away journalistic jobs from people who like went to school for it and want to do that as a career when like you could also just be hot and be an influencer on Instagram, which is
Or
what like people
Instagram, yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I want to give him credit in that like yes, it like the dance was bad, but it was kind of like I didn't expect him to be a good dancer. Like he is extremely tall and much taller than his partner, which is difficult. And like he's also never performed like versus yeah, he has no dance experience, but he's also like never been in front of a live audience doing
Yeah.
any sort of performance versus like musicians and actors and things like that. Like I can hand it to him. Like it's nerve-wracking, it's stressful to learn choreography, everything like that. So I'll give him the benefit of doubt going forward, seeing like how he'll do. I also have to give him the benefit of the doubt because I absolutely adore his partner. So I at this point also like you watch Dancing with if you're a Dancing with the Stars fan, you watch it for the pros more than the celebrities because the pros
Mm.
stay from season to season most of the time. And so his partner Riley Arnold, this is her first time being a pro and she's 18, like fresh out of high school. Yeah, and which I also think the casting director and wait, she's from Utah and is the Mormon. Like
Oh my
this is
god.
just who decided to put these two together. Like
Like oh
I
my
think it's
god.
problematic. And people I've been seeing some videos about like people shipping them and I'm like,
Of
please stop.
course.
Please stop. Like he's 8 years older than her. And like he was on the show Too Hot to Handle, which was
Yeah.
like come all about like sex addicts. Like, can we not ship him with freshly adult 18-year-old Mormon, sweet baby Riley? Let's just have them be friends. And obviously, like, just because you're like a Mormon and you grew up in that environment and like you doesn't mean you can't obviously like she's not, I don't know, like Amish or anything, like she doesn't know
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything like that. Like she is totally capable of being friends with anyone. I just think it's a little bizarre that people are like shipping them. And I know her older sister was also a pro on the show and like one of my favorites, Lindsay. And like you are a professional. This is her first job and but she's handling it like a professional as she should. And I think she's doing really well in, the whole situation and choreographing. But I do just think it's a little bizarre. I want to keep watching them because they do seem like they have a good friendship. Like their social media content that they're
Oh,
making,
I bet it's fire.
it's so funny. And that's why people are loving them also because like they do have good friendship chemistry and seems like they're just having fun all the time. And like their dance is kind of going a little viral on TikTok. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Harry. And like, I don't know. We're just gonna see how it goes. But I was bringing it up because of the vote. So I think given how big of a platform he has on social media, especially amongst like young people, and how even though his partner is a brand new pro, she has the banked in system of her older sister who was a fan favorite pro. So I do think that it runs the risk of them kind of going far, even though he probably won't be as good as everyone else is.
Literally, because he is like, I cannot stress this enough. So fucking bad. Like, so, so bad. But yeah,
Yeah.
that is so interesting. Also, just thinking about an 18-year-old choreographing and coaching a
Mm-hmm.
dance for someone like that, I feel like would be so hard. Like, to coach someone that, again, just has no dance experience. And I do like that you brought up the point about performance because you're right. Yeah, like does Jamie Lynn Spears have she's probably, I feel like most actors and musicians have taken a dance class at one point. So
Right.
which helps with like musicality obviously and timing and beats and stuff like that. But you're
Mhm.
totally right. Like when it's like, when you're acting a scene or whatever, you have the countdown and then, it's go time and tons of people are watching you and stuff like that. It's very similar to like the Dancing with the Stars stage that yeah, he would just like not have it all because he's from like unscripted reality TV.
Yeah, I mean, versus like the only person you guys could really compare him to is Ariana Madix, and she's also from unscripted
Yeah.
TV first. But like everyone else either is an actor, so that means you have showmanship. You know how like people were saying, oh, even if the actors aren't good, they know how to tell a story. They know how to bring the character to life and good facial
Yes.
expression.
Yeah.
Musicians have musicality.
Yeah.
Obviously, the worst is when it's a freaking dancer on Dancing with the Stars as the
Oh,
singer.
that
I'm like,
grinds my gears. Like, you can't. That's not the point of the fucking show.
it like I had always been a little bit irked with like some people like when Zendaya was first there. I was like, Zendaya was on Shake It Up on Disney Channel. Like she's someone I'd answer. No, but when it really got to me was actually Dancing with the Stars Juniors, and then it happened again on regular Dancing with the Stars because Mackenzie from Dance Moms was on Dancing with
Yes.
the Stars Juniors, and then when JoJo Siwa was on, I'm like, they
Yes.
became celebrities for being on a show called Dance Moms.
100%. Like
They're
that
like,
that's
come
not
on.
fair. Like
It's
it
not
is
fair.
supposed to be
Charlie
like
D'Amelio.
athletes. Yeah, Charlie D'Amelio literally a dancer 100%. And actually Ariana Madix does have a dance background. Like
Oh,
when she was
okay.
first introduced on Dancing oh my god, Vanderpump Rules, I'm pretty sure her first scene was being a backup dancer for another star, Sheena Shea's song Good as Gold at like a club.
Huh. Well, that, I mean, explains it because she was
She's
good.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she at least has, I don't know extensively what her background of dance is, but she definitely has some background in dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could tell from her performance, it was like she was wearing the revenge dress. And I was like, she went last also, I think, which always helps. Like, you get judged really well if you go last. And I think she's gonna make it as a top contender. Jamie Lynn Spears, it seemed like in week one she was being really hard on herself, like, and it looked like she was injured already. I think she was like limping when the dance was over, and so like the judges were saying a lot of stuff like you're your own worst enemy and things like that, and she was apologizing. So I don't know quite yet if she actually does have that potential and she's just being too hard on herself, or if like I feel like she might just be like a mid tier, like someone get stuck in the middle and
Yeah. Yeah,
but
definitely.
like Charity the Bachelorette was really good, which I
Oh
mean all
yeah,
the
Charity.
bachelorettes,
Yeah.
yeah, they're all always pretty good.
Yeah.
But who I and another surprise was Jason Mraz. I think
Yes.
everyone was really blown away with him and honestly a little uncomfortable with how well he moved his hips. um but he had really good showmanship and it was
Yeah.
really entertaining. Um, and but who I'm rooting for to win is Sochi Gomez with Val, and they remind me a lot of like him and Zendaya because she's like 17 and he's just the best. Like it's funny because he always has this persona for being strict, but like over the years he's softened up, and it's just I think they're really good like brother sister kind of vibes, and
Mm-hmm.
just like I really like their partnership already. And she went first last week, and so she didn't get scored I think as well as she should have, so I think she's just going to have the most potential. I always find myself like rooting for the young people because you always just assume like they're going to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
But there was also another guy who I didn't know who he was. I guess he's from the Brady Bunch, Barry Williams. I had never watched it either, but he was like the most wholesome, sweet person ever. And I thought like he was gonna be not great, but he could because he's older and he could actually move like well. And I was so surprised. And he was friends, I guess, he's currently friends with the oldest winner of Dancing with the Stars, who won when he was like in his 50s or something. I think Barry's like in his 70s. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, yeah, I want to claim that title now. And it was actually sweet. Like I could see him like improving and actually doing well. So I always love like when the show introduces you to celebrities you didn't necessarily know before, and then you could end up loving. Like that's happened so much because it's an opportunity to see them in a different light. And that's why,
Yeah.
Dancing with the Stars has a reputation for the cast being people who either are like washed up, like you said, or
Mm-hmm.
have had like bad publicity and are looking for good PR.
Yeah.
I think that happened with Olivia Jade a few years ago
Yes.
because obviously there was the whole college admission scandal, and then she was really good on the show, and I actually started becoming a fan of hers and was upset when she got eliminated. Uh,
Totally.
so I think Jamie Lynn Spears is probably the number one on the list for uh to see if she gets that good PR or not.
Yeah, yeah. You're
But
right
time will
though.
tell.
You could totally change people's perspectives from this show because you see how hard they're working. You see like when they're frustrated and like when they overcome something, or like if a dance has a certain theme that they like speak to in their packages about like what it means to them, like it could
Yeah.
totally turn someone's image around.
Exactly. So I think it's a fun show, and I feel like always from the in the last several seasons or just in general, I'm always like maybe disappointed with the cast at first because I like don't know who they are most of the time, but then as the season goes on, like I end up getting attached to somebody and really rooting for them.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that happens more so this season, especially because like I was saying how you watch for your pros, like two of my favorite pros aren't in it because they've become moms through COVID, and now they each have two kids, and it's just not as easy for them to be on the show as it was in years past, and it's like, oh, I miss them. So
Totally. Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was kind of like American Idol and stuff, and I feel like The Voice and stuff like that. It's like you're almost there for like the judging more
Mhm.
than like the actual contestants. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would love it. Like Dancing with the Stars does a tour after
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times, and like the pros go and they'll bring like some of the contestants from the previous season on as guests or to host the show or something. And I would love watching just like all of their social media, like their stories, and they have YouTube videos, like just watching all the behind the scenes because there really are like a family basically traveling together, and all the like their funny jokes and their dynamic. It's always fun to see. So I really loved also like the last few seasons with COVID, you lost elements of that. Like they didn't do a lot of the fun little intricacies of the show, whether that be like the when the pros do like the welcome big group dance, or
Yeah,
they
yeah.
would do like halfway through the season, they do, I think it's always like Halloween, they do like the team dances where they divide
Yeah.
the contestants up, or they would swap partners and you have to dance with a different pro that week. Like I think those things were always so fun and made the show like not like they have themes, but I think introducing little elements like that was always like made the show even better and bringing out like the
Absolutely.
chemistry of the individual people. So we'll see if like, as we've been getting further and further from the whole COVID of it all, if they bring back any of those things that this season, because I would really love it. And the last thing I'll say about Dancing with the Stars, because I don't want to
No,
pay
no, I
for
love
knowing
this.
that
I love
you're
this.
not. But I would love if they did a like they've done an all-star season. I think the
Yeah.
they only did it once, I think, and that was the
Mm-hmm.
season before I watched, I believe. And they really should do an all-star season, but not like I don't want to see all the winners competing against each other. I want to see the people who were robbed come back
Yeah.
and get to compete. But then the curiosity is like, well, what if one pro has been robbed multiple times, which I'm sure there are? Then it's like, who do they get partnered with?
With, yeah.
Um, so that's like, because I really want that redemption from season 27 for Milo.
Yeah.
So I just want to see that happen. But like
That's
there's
so
so
funny.
many, so many great people who have been fantastic over the years that were robbed, or there were seasons that there was just such a great cast and everyone was really great. I think that would be really entertaining. I know Derek Hoff, who's now a judge on the show, did an interview talking about some kind of like, oh, he said he's like, I have no control over this, but it'd be cool to like do some kind of all-star season again or something like that. So I hope, as I feel like the Dancing with the Stars in the last few years, like the producers have always been in the rooms trying to figure out not what's wrong with the show, but just like what they can do better. You know, they've changed the hosts, they've changed the judges dynamic. So to anyone out there, Dancing with the Stars,
Yeah, hit it up. No, it's a
do the
really good.
All-Star season.
No, I agree. They should do a all-star season for sure. Like I'm a big Survivor girl. I love when they do like returnee seasons and stuff like that just because of the backstory is so interesting. But yeah, I also agree that like I feel like they've had a little bit of an identity crisis over the last couple years with the rotating hosts, with moving it to Disney Plus, etc. And I do feel like they need to find their niche again. And I feel like something like that happens when you do like a returning player season.
Yeah, you would get so many more, like, I don't know what their ratings are like. I don't think they've ever been like a lot of these reality shows that have been on forever. I don't think they ever get concerned about getting canceled.
Yeah.
But I think it would only increase their ratings to bring back. I mean, granted, like a lot of people think Zendaya was robbed. Like, I don't think Zendaya would come back and do it because she's just blown up, like to an extent for some of the celebrities. But I think most of them, you know, could come back.
Absolutely.
It's really just a matter of, I guess, the partnerships figuring that logistic out. But I think it would be a gold mine for ratings to bring back people who might have left the show since because they just don't love it as much, or they were really peeved off when someone didn't win. So
yeah,
it's just an idea.
Totally. No, I love that. Or people that have like kind of blown up since then. Like Nick Viall was on the show. I think I don't know, he's probably middle of the pack, but like since then he has like one of the #1 podcasts and like stuff like that. Not that he's on Special Forces right now, not that I think he needs to be on another reality TV show or that we need to watch him, but like people like that like yeah, it would just be interesting to watch.
Is Special Forces good? Because I saw like him, Tyler Cameron, and JoJo hanging out. I was like, what is this trio? And then it said they were on the show. And I know, I think is Jamie Lynn Spears was on it, and I know Hannah Brown was on it.
I think they were on the first season, both of them, and then Ariana's boyfriend ex-boyfriend that cheated on her is on season 2. I think it's kind of the same with Dancing with the Stars, that it's like the casting is like actually pretty decent, but I just can't get over like I don't care about them like climbing in the like wilderness. Like I just like couldn't care less. But I do watch some of the clips like that come up on like TikTok and stuff.
Okay.
Just to stay in the know with things. Yeah. Right. But I think I don't know. I think you're right. It's kind of like Dancing with the Stars that we're like, who's watching this show? And it's like, well, actually, like a lot of people because it won't get canceled and it'll get like an 8 p.m. time slot, like prime time. So
yeah.
Okay, let's chat about the Roman Empire trend. This blew up over the last couple weeks about, I guess it started with a TikTok with a girlfriend asking her boyfriend, like, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? I can't even remember the origin story. But then she was shocked when he was like, oh, like 2 to 3 times a week. And then other girls were curious, you know, with their boyfriends and how often guys think about the Roman Empire. How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
Literally never.
Literally never. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. And I've seen so many videos of people talking about like the analysis of what it means for them to be thinking about it. Cause it's like, oh, they're thinking about it from a structural perspective of like, you know, they fell, when are we gonna fall? Like gladiator perspective, dominating, conquering land, like, and never. So gross. The moral I've been saying is like, so if they think about the Roman Empire a lot, that's a red flag.
Yes.
But I also am like, I don't believe that all these guys are really thinking it. Like, they have to be in on some joke. Like, until I saw people who were asking their husbands or fathers or people who are like, I genuinely are not on social media and would not on any sort of joke. And they say like, you know, once a week or something like that. I'm like, why? It doesn't make sense.
No.
But I just love what its spirit, or I don't know if that's a word, what it has created in social media. And then now like people thinking about the female equivalent. And this honestly bugs me because this is why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, lay
Because
it on
people
me.
are getting it wrong. When people are saying, like, oh, the female equivalent of the Roman Empire is like Taylor Swift, I'm like, no. Yes, we think about her a lot, but it's not weird to think about Taylor Swift as a young
Yeah,
girl. That would be
yeah.
the equivalent of the Roman Empire for boys being sports. Like, that's not,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going
yeah,
to
yeah,
listen to Taylor
yeah,
Swift. It's like,
yeah.
it has to be something so random and obscure that, like, why are women thinking about this? And people are like, oh, the summer I turned pretty, or like pumpkin spice latte. I'm like, again, no, that's not random and like super niche. So that's just my hot take about people saying like this is my Roman Empire. Like I want it to be something so obscure, like especially given that people are talking about it like Roman Empire, it's old and stuff. So I think an accurate one is some people have said like the Titanic. I actually find
I
myself actually
yes.
thinking about the Titanic like
Yes.
every once in a while. I
Yes.
don't know why, but I just do. Um,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
like the movie or the actual event, don't really know, but like all. Um,
All.
so I think that's a really good, solid answer. Some people have said like
Yes.
in the Bridgerton realm of it all, like Regency era, Gilded
Regency.
Age
Yeah.
kind of thing, which again, like I think that's fine. And I just love also like the specificity in like movies and television of the Roman Empire. Like, think it's basically, I guess people are equating it to things that like live rent free in my mind. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I actually
Yes.
did a video, and it's like the one I chose was like High School Musical 3 when Zac Efron sits at the piano and they're singing like "Just Want to Be with You," and he flings his hair back. Like, and I was like,
Oh, I
that
think about that
is
all the
Troy
time.
Bolton. I'm like, I think about that a lot. I think about that a lot.
Yeah, like he
People
was
are
just
like,
like so into it that he flicked his hair. Oh my
I don't
god,
know what it did to me, but it just did. It was something.
yeah,
Me at 10
yeah,
years old, it's just been here all the time.
yeah. I get that.
Tom
Yeah,
Holland's lip sync battle, like
yeah,
people said that one.
yeah.
I'm not like a Jane Austen person, but I know people have done like the hand for
Yes,
Darcy. So
yeah,
like that I'll appreciate. I'm like, yes, I want and love all those. Like I loved when that was a thing on TikTok when Stitches first came out and they're like, what's a scene, what are two clips that are give the same energy, or what's the
yeah.
funniest celebrity interview or something like that. I loved watching those over
Me
and over again,
too.
and like me as a creator trying to figure out like what the best one to do was that's gonna like that's the most accurate and gonna garner the biggest reaction.
Yeah.
And then like coming and like trying to brainstorm, it was just it's fun and I love it. Like sometimes I just go back, and I was actually thinking about this last night, some like COVID memories and like typing it out, and it's just funny. But I feel like I miss the early days of TikTok, at least my journey with TikTok, and like the creativity and how trends would come and I would be so excited and like running around my house trying to like get props and do stuff and just come up with all these ideas. And I don't know, I just feel like, well, with social media it's always ever changing super quickly that
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes trends just, I don't know, there haven't been as many lately or ones that I've loved as much. So I like the Roman Empire one for now.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I totally agree. Yeah, I think like with the Roman Empire, I think for options for women, like I think that definitely Titanic. Like I actually think that's like legitimate. I feel like there's no girl that I've ever spoke to that are like, "Oh yeah, I didn't like love the movie," or like I didn't think about all of the like expeditions and like stuff like that. The other one I was thinking was the Salem witch trials. I'm sure a million people have said that, but then I was just thinking, I was like, so is it just the equivalent is something that like really impacted like women, like the like
I don't
women
know.
with the witch trials, and then like the Roman Empire, like I don't know, like I I have no idea.
But I like the Salem witch. I've seen some comments of people saying that. And I don't know. I guess it's on a similar vein. Like, I've never been there, and I don't know why I associate it with it. But like, because it's Salem, Massachusetts, but for some reason, like in my mind, I think Portland, Oregon, is like the coolest witchy, like Halloween spooky season place to be. Again, never been there, don't know much about it. But in my head, I just envision like, oh yeah, I love like especially this time of year. No, I'm also thinking about it a lot more, but like
Yes.
Focus, I love all that
Yes.
stuff. So like Twitches, Halloween Town, all that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
don't know if there's like a whole witch thing. Like when I what was the book? The Crucible. read that in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that The Witch's Trial? I think so. I
I
don't one
think
of them.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like I definitely thought about it then multiple times, obviously, because I was reading the book, but it is a niche thing that it's like from a psychological perspective, I'd love like a psychologist to weigh in on the matter. So I think that's really
Absolutely.
interesting. Like if I was in college now and I was a psych major, and if there was like some like I wish there was always like a psychology of pop culture. That would be such
Mm-hmm.
a fun class and just analyzing why we think the way we think in regards to, I guess, stuff that's happening in pop culture. And yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be a cool thing to unpack.
100%. Yeah, like the only thing that I can think about is like it resonates for different genders. Like I just still don't know. Or like is it like when I think about the Roman Empire, I do think of like masculinity and like
Mm,
brute force and stuff like that. And then when I think of Salem witch trials, I think of like women being wrongfully persecuted. Like I don't know,
yeah.
maybe it's just resonant. I have no idea, but my like celebrity pop culture Roman empires, like I always think about the bowls of cigarettes at Mary Kate Olsen and Olivia Sarkowski's wedding because it is just so wild to me that that is the one detail out of a secret marriage, like a secret wedding that they had that we found out. I also always think about High School Musical, but at the beginning of HSM 3, when it's just Troy, like a zoom up on Troy's face playing basketball, because
Yeah.
that was the first movie of the High School Musical series, obviously, that was in theaters.
Hmm.
And because we didn't have TikTok and stuff there, you didn't see spoilers. So I just went knowing I like having no idea that that was going to be the first scene. Like I lost it. Or I think about this and say it in my head so often, but like in a Cinderella story, the main character, like the mean character, when Hilary Duff is walking down the stairs, goes like, love the dress, hate her. Like I think that in my head all the time. Like I'll walk down the street, see someone wearing a nice dress, and just be like, love the dress, hate her. Like, like
I
just like
love that.
weird shit like that. That just like I don't know would be my Roman Empire, and like tons of pop culture things that just like stand out to me that are just like huge mysteries that we'll never know. Like what really happened with Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber. Like or like these big questions that I have. Like those are my like pop culture Roman empires that I'll just, I'm always thinking about it, but like, I don't know, I guess never will go back to the time. Like, again, I don't know really what the origin of the trend was, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know where I wonder if like what the first video was. Like who came up with the idea to ask
Yeah.
that question? It just
Yeah.
seems so random. Like I would never try to do that. But yeah,
No.
I'm like also like just like a walking quoter of movies and so
Yes.
like I feel
Yes.
like my head is naturally a Roman Empire of pop culture all
Yeah.
the time prior to this trend, post this trend. It is just the way my brain works. Like that is such a niche in like what I love for movies and TV. And this was like my origin story, I guess, in going viral really on TikTok was I love watching a movie or a show and there's like an actor illusion in it where let's say my personal favorite one is I'm like I always try to pick which one is my favorite, but in Dawson's Creek, like the actor Joshua Jackson who plays Pacey, he was also the lead Charlie in the Mighty Ducks movies. And so in an episode of Dawson's Creek, they're in detention and they were like, oh, whatever happened to like because they're talking about the Breakfast Club, of course, because they're in detention. And Emilio Estevez is in that. So they're like, oh, whatever happened to him? And he's like, oh, he like washed up and whatever. He's like, no, he was. And so then Joshua Jackson's character is like, no, he was in those Ducks movies. Those are great. And of course, this was after the Mighty Ducks and he was in it. And again, it was only a nod to the fan. So if you watched it, you knew that like it was a little reward system. And so I made a video like compiling a few of the ones I knew and loved, and it went insanely viral. And people started commenting all sorts of other examples. I had like a notebook filled with these
Oh, I
examples and
love that.
made like it was a whole series and they just were going like viral after viral. It was crazy. And that's like one of my very niche like things that I love. Like I love Easter eggs like that and just little references. And I think that's like the beauty of movies and TV. And that was just like a side tangent. But
No,
anyway.
no, I love that. It's like no wonder you're a Taylor Swift fan because like mostly self-referential, but like I
Yeah.
totally get that though. Like I love references in movies and TV and stuff like that. And when you get it, that's why it was so fun to watch shows like even like Gilmore Girls, like
Mhm.
shows that or Suits. I'm doing a rewatch of Suits right now and like there's so many pop culture jokes in those TV shows that it's like it's so nice when you like you're in on the joke with the characters. So,
Yeah. And when things
yeah.
like don't age well in a sense, like I watched Suits for the first time just before it got added to Netflix, so it was like prior to everyone freaking out about it again. And I think there was a comment somewhere that like not that it didn't age well, but it was just funny retrospectively now that Meghan Markle is like married to Harry and everything. And it's just funny, like, something
Yes.
occurred in a single moment in time, and then years later, or like I've done it a reversal series where like things have foreshadowed a future work, and it's
Yes.
really eerie how it
Yeah.
happens sometimes. And it's like, it's just fun. Everyone's like, I don't think that was on purpose. I'm like, yeah, I know it was. Me making it fun, like, because I enjoy it. Like,
That's
gosh.
so funny. Yeah, in the episode of Suits when you mentioned that, there's I think it's in season 3, but one of the characters is like, who does she think she is? Not referencing Meghan Markle, like the Queen of England or something like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like she's not even in that scene, but just like that being mentioned, I was like, oh my god. So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Pettyweight Champion of the Week. This is the part of the show where our guest Laura is going to nominate a Pettyweight Champion of the Week, someone in the media who did something petty and it was iconic. Laura, who are you nominating this week?
So I was going back and forth, but I feel like this one, because I was like, I don't want to say Taylor Swift in the whole thing and bring up more. So I was like, I'm gonna pick Howie Mandel
Yes.
because I used to watch America's Got Talent all the time, but I watched it with my mom, and like I stopped watching it this summer because I was just like, it's too much effort, and like I don't know, it's always just it's a lot to put into watching this show that I don't really love, and it was more like enjoyable when I watched it with my mom. But so I know that like Sofia Vergara and Howie Mandel are both hosts on the season, and so like I still see like articles, or I follow all the major pop culture outlets or news outlets and whatnot, so I see things. And I know that like Sofia Vergara has been publicly obviously going through a divorce while she's been on the show, and I guess Howie has been making a couple of comments throughout the show at her and how she's newly single and stuff. And I remember being in the headlines a few weeks ago because I guess he's been doing it a number of times, because this article said that like she had had enough, and I think she like walked off or something like that. And then like last week, I see a post on Instagram from Howie Mandel that Deal or No Deal is coming back, which I was like, oh my god, so excited! Like I loved that show, but it's gonna
Yeah,
be
speaking of Meghan Markle.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
um, but it's gonna be like a spin-off, and they're gonna be on an island, whatever. And he's saying like, oh, they're gonna be on a Banker's Island, and I guess it's gonna be some form of remote. And he's like, but I'm a germaphobe. I can't be on a remote island. Also, I'm like building this up, but
I know, I love it.
he's like, I'm a germaphobe. I can't be on this remote island, but these people are going to need a host to guide them. And he introduces the host, and it's Sofia Vergara's ex-husband, Joe Manganiello. And I was like,
What?
are you kidding me? That is
Oh
so
my god.
petty. Wow.
Oh my god. So he's been making he's been making comments to Sofia Vergara all while knowing her ex-husband is going to be hosting Deal or No Deal.
I don't know, like, obviously the timing of things of like when
Yeah, yeah,
America's Got
yeah.
Talent has been filmed, and slash like
Yes.
we're at the portion that's, I feel like at this point, because it was the winner was announced, I think, last week. So I think they would be live at this point. But yeah, if a couple of weeks ago they were live and he's making these comments, and I don't know when he contracted like with Joe to be the host and everything, but like something seems fishy here in like
That's
everything.
suspect.
So yeah.
Dang. Also, I feel like that's so fucking random because isn't he like a decently serious actor? But I guess
I mean,
so was she, and she's hosting.
I don't think she was such a serious, like her big
Yeah.
was like Modern Family, so it was like a sitcom comedy.
Yeah.
And Joe, like honestly, the thing I'm like, what was he in the last? Like when someone was asking me because I was telling my coworkers about that, they were like, "What is he in?" I'm like, honestly, the only thing coming to my mind is Magic Mike.
Same. Yeah,
and,
same.
and then I was like reading about the show more, and they were listing his acting credits, and they said like One Tree Hill, and I was like, "Oh right, I forgot he was in One Tree Hill." But I don't know of anything. I can't think of the top of my head anything else he's been in, so I don't know.
Wild.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I guess like you just always this is why I could never be famous. It's like I guess you always just have your moment in the sun and then you end up hosting Deal or No Deal. Like, I don't know. It's cringe for me, but yeah, that is wild. I just talking about Dancing with the Stars and these hosts. I really want to, I don't know, like do like a deep dive into like hosts or something because I just feel like that there's some interesting
Oh
stuff
yeah.
going on there.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's such an interesting thing to digest. I mean, like some people, go about like, oh, it's so random for them to host, but then think about the people who've made their careers start. Like Ryan Seacrest was,
Yeah, Tom
he,
Bergeron,
he
Regis
was,
Philbin, yeah.
yeah, like, and there's always drama amongst it. Like
Yeah,
the Dancing with
totally.
Stars alone has so much drama,
So
and
much
that's of it.
drama with the hosts. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
But yeah, I think I loved Deal or No Deal when I don't know if I ever like watched it live, but they did bring it back a couple of years ago when I was like still in college, and I remember watching it over winter break, and it was fun. And I loved that game show. And
Mm-hmm.
I think like the spoof they're doing on it should like it's gonna be different. Like seems more like again, I've never watched Survivor, but it seems more of like something along the lines of like people on an island. They have to like they're on the Bankers Island. I think they have to do challenges to win money, and then there are like briefcases hidden around the island.
Oh,
And the
cool.
last person standing plays like the most high stakes version of Deal or No Deal to win, I guess. So should
Honestly,
be.
I kind of want to tune in.
I
Like,
know.
you
I'm
kind of
like,
sold it for me.
I'm definitely going to be tuning in to see, but also I'm like, but I always loved how Howie was part of it because he's a comedian, he's funny, and like it makes it
Yeah.
entertaining. So I don't know if it's going to have the same excitement. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, we'll see how Joe hosts. Like, that's
Yeah, what
so
his
fucking random. Oh my
charismatic. I
God.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess he begged Sophie Vergara, so he must have charisma, but I haven't seen it personally. Like, okay, let's wrap up with This Week in Petty. This is the segment where our guest Laura is going to share a story about something that happened in real life that she's petty about. What are you petty about this week?
So, it kind of brings us to a perfect circle with where we started with like the Taylor Swift of it all in music. I'm just petty that I did not get Olivia Rodrigo tickets, or rather, even the opportunity to purchase tickets because I wasn't selected as a verified fan or for the pre-sale or whatnot. And like, I can't be too mad because I have purchased Taylor Swift tickets for the Eras Tour 3 times and been successful in that. But as my mom
You
loves,
went 3 times?
so I haven't gone yet. I went in May in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and then I bought tickets for London for next year. We'll see if that actually like happens because it is like a while away and it's a European like whole trip and whatnot. But
Yeah, yeah.
at the time it was supposed to be her last show of the Eras tour. And then she announced more dates, which she's still gonna announce more dates, I'm sure. And now I'm going, I got tickets again for Miami in October of next year because I'm originally from Florida, and my mom, like that's where my parents still live. And I went to see 1989 and Reputation with my mom, and the Eras tour was the first one I went with like my friends. And I know like my mom would want to go. So we're gonna go together,
I
which I'm
love
excited
that.
about. I was like, Mom, we're gonna be junior jewels. I'm gonna be a junior jewel. You're gonna be a senior jewel, and it's gonna be
Cute.
comfy, but like still a good outfit. Um,
Cute.
But yeah, but my mom loves to point out that like, yes, you should be grateful that you're, got tickets for Taylor Swift and everything, but Ticketmaster is not being fair, and that's like all you get to see. Like you want to see more musicians and stuff. And I'm like, you're right, especially because I love concerts. Like that is my thing. And I was supposed to go to Loverfest in 2020 and then COVID and everything. So once like after COVID, or like during COVID, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to go to concerts again. But I really want my first concert post COVID to be Taylor Swift. So I'm like, I'm not going to a concert until she announces her show. And like, I got the Capital One card like a year before she even announced the Eras
That's
tour because
so
I was
funny.
like, when the time comes for her to announce this show, it's going to be a bloodbath to get tickets. And I need every advantage I can get. And I was, magically able. And I'm so happy about that. But now it's like there are more people I want to see shows for. And Olivia Rodrigo was someone who
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to Sour because like obviously they did not expect her to blow up like she did, and they booked her in tiny venues, and now she's playing like 4 nights at Madison Square Garden. And I just couldn't get that. So I really don't like in the Ticketmaster of it all and the like buying tickets that you have to be chosen for the
I
opportunity to buy
know.
tickets.
I
Like you should
know.
just be a fan of something and have equal access to get it. Like it's almost like my mom was telling me about the back in the day when they used to have to wait in lines and in person to get
Yes.
tickets like that. So yeah, I'm like, there's a lot of concerts that I would have. So Olivia Rodrigo was someone I really wanted to go to. I love Sabrina Carpenter, and I'm really upset that of the three Taylor Swift's Eras tour I'm going to, she is not an opener for one of
For
them.
any of them.
Um,
That
yeah,
sucks.
and I started like getting into her music right like a couple of months before the Eras tour, and then Sabrina Carpenter announced another leg of her tour, but it was the New York shows were like the beginning of May, and I was going to the Eras tour at the end of May, and I was like, no, I need to stay true to my wanting Taylor to be the first one. Renee Rapp was another one who she also had a
Mm-hmm.
tour, like a little tour last year that I was like, no, I'm waiting for Taylor, but now I'm going to her show next month.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
so yeah, that's kind of my
Yeah, what you're petty about. Yeah, no, I get that. Like, I don't know what an equitable way to sell tickets is nowadays because I feel like if there wasn't the verified fan, would it just be like, oh, if you have money, you just like get better access? But like, I don't know. I guess that's not true because like you would just pay, I guess, however much you are willing to pay. But like, it does suck. Like in my group, I went to the Seattle show for Eras. In my group of four, only one of us got a code.
Mhm.
So it's like if like Lisa didn't get a code, we were just SOL. Like, so it really yeah, I don't know what it is, but something I feel like I thought that Eras tour like the second leg would break this like Ticketmaster like chokehold or whatever, but I guess it's persisting with this Olivia Rodrigo tour, and I don't know what the answer is at all, but like something's got to give because it sucks. You're right. Usually it's like if you know, had the funds and interest, you were able to go. And now it just seems like so brutal.
Yeah, huh, pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah. Pun definitely intended. Yes.
But yeah, Olivia Rodrigo, it was like, I know also people who got codes, they said like they got in, but then the prices were like the cheapest ticket you could buy
Yeah.
was $500. And I'm like, that's just what is this? Like, I
Yeah.
will say, like, in the way that you were talking about not knowing what the solution is, something that they did years ago for Reputation, because that was the first time I bought the tickets. 1989, I had a whole, my mom got them, and it was a whole scam story that ended up being like the best night ever that turned me into like a diehard Swiftie, but that's a story for another time. Um,
Ooh.
but essentially, Reputation was the first time I was buying the tickets now that I was like diehard Taylor Swift fan, I need to go. And what they rolled out was this whole system to like reward fans so that way
Mm-hmm.
real fans had the better chance of getting tickets.
Like
No
not
demand.
scalpers.
So yeah, it was like granted there was a little bit of controversy because one of the tasks was like merch related. So like obviously if you had more money and could afford to buy a lot of merch, then you would have better access, and that's not fair. But what I didn't buy any of the merch, but what I did was like they had this page filled with tasks that you could accomplish every day, that and the more you did, the more kind of like points you got, and the better place in the queue you would get then. So one of the tasks was like watching the music video for Look What You Made Me Do or something. And I literally, and you had like a limit of how many times you could do it a day. I sat my butt there every day and played it 7 times or whatever number it was. I'm doing all that I can do to garner my place in line.
Yeah.
And I think that was like, so I don't know, maybe there's something like that. And I know people are getting rewarded more or less like on social media, making these videos talking about how they wanted to get tickets, and like SeatGeek reaches out and doesn't,
Yeah.
there isn't enough. So I don't know. I think there has to be some kind of happy medium. Like you shouldn't have to prove yourself as a fan in order to be able to go. But I don't know if maybe that's some form of a solution over just completely random and the numbers not making sense.
Totally, 100%. Yeah, that's fascinating. And yeah, I want to hear what the listeners think if people have like a solution to this. But still very exciting that you get to go in Miami and possibly London. And who knows, maybe your a TikTok will blow up. You're like, oh, SeatGeek, the Olivia Rodrigo's, like, the tickets are so expensive, like, at SeatGeek. Like,
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
that's what it is. I'm definitely not like as upset about it. Like, if I had not gotten Taylor Swift, like when Taylor Swift, the first day of the Eras, were like, I did get a code for verified fan, and it was like, it was a shit show. We all know. And I literally like chew out my roommate at the time. I felt so bad. She was like saying like, okay, so like, you didn't get, I'm like, no, like, you don't understand. There's not a world in which I'm not going to the Taylor Swift Eras Tour. Like, that's just not in the cards for me. It's
Literally.
just, I haven't imagined that being a possibility where like she has a concert and I don't get to be there after all this time. Um, and then sure enough, the next day, the Capital One card presale was happening, and
Yeah,
I
you
was
lucked
freaking
out.
out because I was like new at work, and I was worried about like trying to get tickets while I was at work. And it was like a whole ordeal, but it worked. And yeah, so I wasn't as upset about not being able to get the Olivia Rodrigo tickets as I would have been had Taylor not happened.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
So, and I
Totally.
don't want to speak on my soapbox. Like, I am grateful. I don't want to
Of
put out
course.
bad juju and complaining to any listeners out
No,
there who haven't
this
been able to
segment is
go.
about complaining. No, like no
I do
matter
love it
how big or
also.
yeah.
Want to add, like, I love the whole title of the podcast. And I was telling my
Oh,
coworkers I was going to be on. I was like, it's called Ready to Be Petted. They're like, oh my God, I love that.
that's
Um,
so cute.
and
Thank
like,
you.
it's so creative, the Pettyweight champion, and then also like the personal tie to it. I think it's so fun.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. I feel like we should end on that note. Thank you so much for coming on. This was super fun. Always nice to have new guests on the show.
Yeah, of course it was. I love chatting about everything. I'm sorry. I know I'm like, I shouldn't apologize, but I'm still going to because I know I'm like a chatty Cathy,
No, I
and
love
go off on
it.
a lot of tangents. So thank you for everyone listening and putting up with my thoughts.
No, oh
Um,
my gosh, you should never apologize for that. A, all about the random tangents. I feel like that's what people like about podcasts. And
that's
B, like all the stuff that you've contributed is valuable. Like,
Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, so again, thank you so much for having me and reaching out. Like, it was so fun, and looking forward to all the listeners' thoughts, and hopefully, getting out again in
yes.
the future.
Yes, absolutely. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you and anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're interested in any of my TV, movie thoughts, updates, anything, you can follow me both on TikTok and on Instagram at Not So Critically Acclaimed. And that's kind of my main plug. Like, I also have a podcast, same title. It hasn't been active, but if you're looking for shows, I basically do recommendations. Like, that was my whole thing, where I would pick a show every single week and do a part 1 episode where I give a spoiler-free synopsis of the show, kind of my experience finding it and what it's about, who stars in it, and the plot and like why you might want to watch it. And then the part 2 episode was always like my spoilers, my thoughts, opinions about everything about the show. And last year's episodes had more guests in it, but you're more than welcome to go down the rabbit hole of, I covered like pretty much every teen drama under the sun. So if you're a teen drama lover, you should definitely, and you need a new show to watch, I would recommend hitting that up on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you again.
And there you have it. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode and you want more, join us over on Patreon, patreon.com/RTBP podcast. I just covered trending pop culture topics, and then I covered Catching Kelsey, which is Travis Kelce's reality TV show, Kardashian staff with Emily Rose from It's Become a Whole Thing, like Jen Atkin, Tracy Romulus, Joyce Bonelli, etc. And then I did a full trip recap over there. So you can join me there, or you can follow along with me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at RTBP Podcast. I hope you are safe and healthy out there. As always, I'm your host, Tori, and I'm ready to be petty. See you soon. Bye.